Hey guys, Andy M, spoken label, back in the house. I'm talking my hands tonight. Oh, anyway, back to my friend before, Nayma now, who's going to do, we've just agreed 4 poems for their fantastic book. Over to you, my friend. Take it away.
No filter. This is me. Here I sit, growing into my age jacket, accepting my invisibility, rebuking my fragility. Am I irrelevant? Wearing my wrinkles as a sackcloth and ashes. Should I reinvent myself for the applause of the social media masses? Twittering on Twitter, showcasing shells on Insta, scrolling and trolling, perfecting personas on FB, photoshopping Melly, a veil of airbrushed sadness. I need more because I am less. Filtering faces, not words, subsisting on praises, captive in light cages. The eyes that don't see me, the ears that don't hear me. Should I put on my filter and dance to the hollow beat of a digital trance? A pound of flesh under the knife, erasing evidence of a lived life, fattening up my lips and arse. A fatted calf as a stranger berates me in the looking glass. Are my eyebrows on fleek? Am I scathingly savage enough? Am I too woke or not enough? I log in and await your critique. Let's celebrate the cover, not the book. Post a pic as the panel rates you. Have an opinion. We hate you. Immersing ourselves in the virtual brook. I have wandered the London streets, donning my expiry as an invisibility cloak, as the gaze of the lit quickly retreats before dissolving into the city's big smoke. I have sat with Eliot as we shared despair, aftershop worn, shared niceties over tea and cakes and ices, exchanging troughs and peaks as we laughed and cried, bitching with Bukowski, waving to Sylvia as we died inside. Empty voices filling the space with speech, their flawless faces behind a screen. Me out of touch, them out of reach. We're reality in the virtual scheme. I have haunted the void in between. Should I question the truth as believing the lie? The hordes flock to TikTok, famous for 15 minutes, to shock, to rock, to mock, to exhibit without limit. But I am old, and the light in their eyes has died. Thank you.
No, I'm really glad you did that one today, because if people wondering, I never ask people, obviously, guests like Nayma today, what to do specific pieces, but I'm glad you did that. It was fantastic hearing that, because I've heard you do that one before actually, but it's nice. It's a tremendous piece. It really, really is. We've discussed it in the first half, so I've not got a lot else to say. But do you find that been? Because it's quite a lengthy piece anyway. People wondering with it. Whenever you do it live, does the way you project it change sometimes?
I think it does. I think, you know, when I first started doing this, I think I hadn't kind of learned how to sort of bring more expression to the delivery. And I think sort of now, because I've performed it so many times, I've sort of learned to sort of add those little nuances, because it is kind of a sarcastically scathing piece. So there are certain lines where you think you need to add that little bit of expression. So that is translated.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And it works really, really, really well for that. I agree. So anyway, enough for me. More of you. I like that saying. I use that more in the rest of this podcast. So over to you, Nayma. Back for number 2.
All right. Look up in my book. Food bank. In the rooms where we make parcels, stacked up tins and non-perishables. When the virus has hit hard and morale is scarred, we struggle to hold all our marbles. Tailored bags, veggie or meat eater, selecting each item with loving care, feeding the families without a prayer. In the house of this stained glass-eyed preacher, my ties with Islamic culture cater to the tastes of the Ummah in accordance with their sunnah, dignity beneath the vultures, gluten-free treats for the children, a chocolate for mum to sweeten the glum, community arms in the temple den, the excitement of something nice, M&S biscuits or a Waitrose dessert, the priceless pick-me-ups, we insert a leg up the human rights. Outside the lofty rose window, a clattering of jackdaws noisily caws. Pre-made bundles conceal the storeroom floor. Misfortune offers no furlough. The protein for the meat eaters, beef curry or steak and kidney pie. Taste the Orient with a chicken pad thai. Ignored by carnivorous leaders. A fairy cake home baking kit for quality time with the family. Amid poverty, making memories. The smell of baking, comforting the kids. Those already acquainted with nothing, and those who have lost it all, filing into the hallowed hall, the hurt of the broken cause, sometimes thankful, others biting. Each of us, one paycheck away from destitution, there, but for the grace of God, the God with the punishing rod, Party politics offers no divine restitution. Thank you.
Oh, now that's one obviously we haven't talked about in the first half, so I can ask more questions then. So, but again, yeah, I think the food bank situation, I could go on a political rant on that, so we'll keep off that. But okay, what's the inspiration behind this piece then?
I mean, I volunteer at a local food bank, and obviously, I mean, I meet a lot of the people who come there, and and I think people sometimes they assume that the only people who use food banks are people who are, sort of very really in the trenches of poverty, and it's or people who without skills or without any particular jobs, or be unemployed, if you will. It's that kind of vilification. But the people that we see come through our doors are people from all walks of life. We have nurses, teachers, single mothers. It's everything. And you see, and you engage with these people, and sometimes they just want somebody to speak to, and and you hear about their situation, and it's it is. I think that's really where the piece was inspired from.
Yeah, it's really vivid, really, really powerful piece, because I think the use of the food in it builds a detail up. I think when you're in a poem like this, what you're doing is you're showing and definitely not telling by using all mentions of the food that's in the actual food bank. I think it works really, really well. So it's an excellent piece. Thank you for reading that. Okay, less of me, more of you.
On the grind, pressed in the threads of adulthood, forging the bonds that bind together in troubled times, when you can't see past the woods, harvesting and investing, delayed gratification, grafting out of your station, consume time without digesting, dreams of someday. Get your foot on the property ladder, save on indulgences, and work harder. All work, no play. Put in the hours to rise, a promotion or bonus for Jack, greasing the cogs to pick up the slack, strangled by the tie that ties. Grind your bones to make his bread. In a suit suited for ambition, silence, mental health's attrition. There is no success for the dead. Sacrifice for the future. Feather your pension to cushion the blow. Retire abroad in a rustic chateau. Eiderdown for the partner to shoulder the burden. A mortgage to swallow your labour. Life's force fueling the conveyor. Together, picking out curtains. Thank you.
Stuff. Now, obviously, people want to go, this is the second poem in the book. I'm interested, obviously, would this actually have been the second poem you wrote, or did you strategically place this poem in the book?
No, it wasn't the second one I placed. I think I actually wrote that piece much later. But I think it was my publisher who actually sort of decided the sequence.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice in that second piece, because it's the tone of it, I think, is very, very different to the first poem. Indeed, it works really well. Actually, I can see. I think it does flow on really well. So, but obviously, tell us about this poem then. On the grind, then.
Yeah,
What's the story
undergraduate.
behind this?
I
I
think
nearly,
it's
I
sort
nearly
of,
said something else then, but yeah.
I suppose it was one of those things that kind of addressed the work-life balance that we struggle to find in the Western world. I suppose is that we seem to just be feeding our physical strength into the system, and if you get a mortgage, and then that in itself feels like an enslavement for the next 20 odd years or
At
something.
least,
It
yeah.
just feels like you're always bound to something, always chasing after something.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you completely. I think it does. That's what I found about this piece. Yeah, when you read it then, I thought, yeah, I can see that straight away. Great stuff
And
indeed.
I saw it with my own children, young men sort of graduating from university, trying to find accommodation, trying to make their way in the world, and it is so difficult.
Yeah, I think the world is a different place, certainly when we both in our 20s, that's for sure of it. And by the time your children and my nephew, for example, get to our age, I think it's dare say the world will be completely different again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy, I suppose, as when maybe you and I were in our 20s to be able to buy your own home.
Yeah,
I
a lot
think for
easier.
most people, that's an unobtainable dream, certainly in London.
Oh yeah, there's a point gone round actually by someone I know that deals with a lot of people in London, where they say a lot of London now is not as many people actually work in the centre of London. Or
Yeah,
actually, yeah, I suppose like it seems to be changing, doesn't it, all the time?
it
So
does. I mean, then, yeah, we have the huge wave of gentrification in a lot of areas as well. So, yeah.
yeah, it seems the workplace balance around Manchester, where I am, for example, it seems to be a lot more where people actually now obviously still working all kinds of hours, so work more than previous lockdown, but a lot of it seems to be at home as well, where the balance seems to have changed in ways half at home and half in the office, depending on the job you do. So anyway, yeah, I agree. On the grind, I think it's a great example of the changing movement of society. So anyway, the big finale. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
One more time then. Less me. More of you.
Limbo. Africa falling. Convoy in the shadows. Constant and ever present. A home, not a home. Anointing my edges. Still, I fit nowhere. Here, my name is foreign. Appearance question. Where are you from? Originally, probes Goldilocks, cornfields in her hair. I have reconciled with the damp, dark streets, pierced by dimples of artificial light, illuminating an artificial pond. The dry wit and caustic humour, the sarcasm, the armour we wear, the sleazy sullied snickers of bawdry backstreet jokes, the women who reject gazing at the floor, audaciously holding his stare, the jangle of frenetic life, the busy life of others, filtering into our busy breaths, in the darkened alcoves and desolate cubicles of existence. Sartre echoed, "You are in bad company." The clattering coffee shops amid sips of acrid Arabica, the inane monologues on current affairs, clandestine consultations, a temporary respite, soaked in caffeine and butter pastries. London calling, cosmopolitan and enthralling. It is the home of a lodger, the key to the kingdom, presenting the illusion of belonging without belonging, the solitude as natural as blinking. There, my name is familiar, my appearance fusing with the dry alleyways and whitewashed facades, facing off a fierce sun in the hodgepodge pavement cafes, where once Ginsberg and Jean Genet supped on mint tea, where tolerance is privately practiced, but never publicly preached. The lamb and cumin infused air that coils and slithers for reclining across the skin like an impermeable veil. The language of my ancestors, tinged with my Britishness, my speech fluent, yet betraying, as wide-eyed locals chuckle like a pacifying parent. You're not from here, are you? In the Medinas, the night sky turns down the heat as families parade in their best attire. Sunflower seeds whose saltiness fizzes on the tongue. Sugar roasted peanuts washed down with canary iced lemonade. The men who gawk belligerently, their eyes betraying the indignity of a shameless woman who refuses to look away. The crested clay tagines joyously bubbling away, enticing wisps of flavor, terracotta fat jolly uncles, the fragrance of l'enfance, the Gnawa drum beats, a throbbing pulse, dancing, chanting, healing, a portal to the beloved on the wings of a trance, a cultural hub that captivates and offends. A shared identity, an organic pond, rich with community, kindness, support, love. To serve is to be with Allah. The allotted roles, deeming marriage and its fruits the paragon of ambition, gender hindered, scornful eyes from the arbiters of decency as I light my cigarette. I am without decency and without God, casting off the shackles of both, the dogma of belief or illusion, in the clutches of tradition, bleeding, bequeathed injury, spurred on by my scars. You're not from here, are you? The cross of the diaspora, life's longing for the other, each suit offering some comfort, but ill-fitting nonetheless. Thank you.
Wow. I don't know what to say to that. My good God. It felt like that was almost like a novel that was told in a poem then, if that makes sense. Because you covered so much ground of that. So I don't know where to unpack it. So, but it's like it was a life. It was life, a life and a life, and showing snapshots of everybody else's lives. Was it quite a difficult poem to write that because of the length of it?
Gosh, yeah, it was. I think it came to me very quickly. I think I wrote it maybe within a couple of days. So it did. I got like just the first line in my head, sort of Africa calling, and I kind of like that, and I kind of sort of went with it. And like I said, again, I didn't necessarily know which themes I would be exploring in that. I kind of just knew that it was going to be a cultural piece that kind of examined that duality of
Yes,
British
incredible.
and Moroccan, but also kind of shone maybe a light on certain cultural perceptions and ideas.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to tell people with that because all the first part was you touched so many lives around that. Like it was it quite interesting? Did you find yourself when you finished it? Had you surprised yourself how much ground you'd actually covered of that piece?
I was, because I didn't expect it to be as long as it was, and it was like, I'd write something and then I'd think, okay, I think I'm done, and then I kind of, then the next day I woke up and then more stuff started coming to me, and I thought, okay, right, this is going to be a longer piece than I'd intended, and I kind of just ran with it.
Yeah, no, it's tremendous. Absolutely. I was sat there absolutely spellbound of that, and I think, good God, I thought I want to show. It was one of those ones where, which I have seen done before, when I had visions of him for a minute where he was going. You're going to read out the full of your second book, then actually done as one poem. Like
Yeah,
it's just true epic, incredible stuff. So, all right, we'll talk more off mic anyway. But I want to thank you today, Nayma. It's been
thank
absolute.
you.
I've looked forward to this since we booked this at the back end of the last year. So, and you haven't let me down in the slightest.
And thank you, Andy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
When book number two's out, let me know, okay? Because I want you one again, okay?
Absolutely.
I definitely want again. I want to see how the second book compares to the first book. I suspect it's going to be quite a different book, which is
Yes.
good, really. Which is good, really. So, anyway, hang around, like I said. So we'll talk more for a minute or two. Okay, guys and girls, you can tell. Unfortunately, that's another episode, and they have another episode for Spoken Late. As Don Callis says, stay safe and stay over. And thank you again, Nayma. And
Thank you.
we will see you all next time.